Hey there, I'm Mike Mooney, and thank you so much for spending a little bit of your day with me to learn more about my messages and how they might be able to serve you and your organization. You see, for more than 25 years, I had the pleasure and privilege to work in professional motorsports in NASCAR, IndyCar, Formula One, NHRA drag racing. And it was there that I got to work around championship level drivers and teams as they were constantly working and building and restoring and innovating their high performance vehicles, their race cars, in order to stay competitive and stay in position to win. And from those lessons and experiences, I've created an intentional framework that brings leaders and teams into conversation around the key areas where we can create not only horsepower, but more importantly, traction to drive and accelerate business results. And those four areas are continuous improvement, peak performance, mindset, and reputation. Now, see, you can have all the horsepower in the world with people and resources, technology, and applications. But if you don't have traction, then you're just spinning your wheels, right? It's like doing burnouts. Quite honestly, burnouts are super cool. You know, the engine's roaring, the tires are screaming, smoke's blowing everywhere. A lot of action, but where are you going? You're not getting anywhere. So the conversation that I invite you into, I invite your team into, helps them create traction, to reframe the way that they're looking at themselves, their role within the business, and their work on the business. It also helps them as individuals to recognize the self-restrictions that we all have that keep us from being the high-performance vehicles that we were uniquely and intentionally designed to be. Yes, I truly believe that within all of us, we are high-performance vehicles. Vehicles for leadership, creativity, support, love, empathy, grace. But how often do we leave that inside? So this is an opportunity that's going to bring people into conversation that's not only fair to the people, but equally fair to the business, that will deliver both the I can do this confidence with the use now skills. Now, I hope that you enjoy the message that you're going to hear shortly, and as I bring some of these messages to life from a recent event that I had done. And I do hope we'll have the opportunity to connect where I can learn more about you, your business, and how I can serve you, and we can create traction together. So until then, thank you again so much for your time, and keep digging. The opportunity I'm going to share with you tonight really is a framework that I've seen champions use day in and day out to stay on top, to stay competitive, to stay in the race, and more importantly, in position to win. Right? I'm inviting you into an opportunity, but the opportunity requires you to have an open mind and to make a choice. Taking you back to a time when I found myself in victory lane, completely covered in confetti and champagne. Championship celebrations happening right now, and I find myself face to face with Jeff Gordon. And I'm standing there, he just won the series championship. It was my job to get him from victory lane up to the suite for the champion's toast. And as we're standing there talking, he looks at me and he says, "Hey Mike, what do we do next?" I didn't realize this, but behind him was his crew chief, Ray Evernham, standing there, kind of eavesdropping what was going on. And Ray kind of steps in and he goes, "What do you mean, what do we do next?" He said, "We go back, we get better, we do it again." That's what we're doing. Jeff looked at him and I looked at Ray and he said, "Okay, that's cool, but Mike, where are we going?" In a moment when they had just won the series championship, what every team out there has been fighting all season to get, in the victory lane, in that moment where he should have been going, whew, he should have been letting go and exhaling and saying, "All right, let's celebrate." Where was his mind? Where was that head of his? It was on going back, getting better, doing it again. Ray Evernham saw hundreds of places where he could innovate. That was his idea. He was able to look at that vehicle through a different lens. Often we look at our work in totality of just one piece. Ray looked at that car and said, "Hey, I'm going to break this car up into many pieces where I can find innovation." This is really a message about 1% daily improvement. So we often focus on and we hear, oh, I'm giving 100% effort. Effort is one thing. The idea of challenging yourself to find that 1% of daily improvement. See, what that allows us to do is take something that's big and break it into pieces that are manageable, to find that competitive edge. It's going to keep us better in position to win. So this is about challenging the people in the different departments of the team to come up with those 1%ers. Where's that 1% of daily improvement that they can find in that race car? I'm going to step back. I can look at where I can find just a small impact area that when we gather up all these 1%, right? You see where we're going here. You start doing that across departments. Now we're creating the horsepower that we need in the market to keep us on top and to keep us driving forward. What's your hood pin? That 1% of daily improvement, friends. Okay. Here's a strategy that I use and it works. It's phenomenal. And it will allow you to reconnect with 156 people in your network within a year. Sound pretty good? And friends, because I'm a giver, I got a bonus one. It's the power of words. And not just the words that we speak externally. I'm a huge believer in the mindset and how that's a foundation. The words that we speak to ourselves are more powerful than the words that we speak externally, because it sets the tone for where we are, who we are, what we do. Who has the most vital job? They'd say, Mike, is it the driver, number one? Is it the pit crew, is number two? The crew chief, number three? Or is it the team owner? The most vital role on that team is the spotter. And if you're not familiar with the spotter, that's the person who stands high atop the racetrack property, right? And they've got the binoculars and the radio communication to that driver. So while that driver is solely focused on their priority, their job, which is to move up position, block or hold position, it's that spotter that's able to see what's happening in their blind spots, in the areas and the places they can't see on the racetrack that if they were to get into, could not only take them, but others out of the race. I think these cars just turn left, turn left, turn left. Okay, that's all we do. But what stood out to you?
As individual teams, we could have stronger communication. As a company, we could have stronger communication, just like those guys. But man, I got to tell you, I love your energy, brother.
Sometimes our humanness creates a bit of a human mess, right? But if we can be aware of that, how much better could we be? How much stronger together could we be? I'll tell you, when I joined them in 2013, we're in Daytona, in the infield, getting ready for the 500. And Jack came up to me, shook my hand. He said, Mike, welcome to the team. You couldn't have picked a worse time to join us. I'm like, well, hey, all right, let's go racing. This is awesome. That's great. Thanks, Jack. I appreciate that. 200 pairs of hands, 10 different departments, one car. You think there's got to be a level of trust that goes in here? Like, picture yourself for a second. You're Chris Buescher. You're at Atlanta Motor Speedway going down the straightaway heading into turn one. You're strapped in going about 194 miles an hour. You're going to turn one. Do you think for a moment you've got to trust that the people who said they were going to do what they were going to do actually did what they said they were going to do? I think so. You have to have that level of trust, and not just the character of the person, but also the competence that they could get the job done. We didn't have spotters internally. When we thought about it, we said, why aren't we using the principles from the racetrack here in our race shop? The point is, we had to then build these cars differently that opened up communications, created trust, and got us to a place where we were then building vehicles that year we actually won the Xfinity Series Championship with. But I'd love for this to be a prompt or a spark for your team to think about where are some of the blind spots that we have. And maybe as the individual, maybe as the team, more importantly, who could our spotter be? Take an engine that was purposely and intentionally designed to create 800 horsepower. You put that restrictor plate in there. What happens to the horsepower? You see it here in the image. It drops to 410. But here's my question, right? Here's the question for you. What happens to that engine when we remove that restrictor plate? What do you think happens to the amount of horsepower that it's able to produce then? Exactly right. Goes right back up to the horsepower it was designed to be producing, to be competitive and win races. What would have been different if Ryan had listened to those doctors? How many children would he not have been able to connect with and inspire and motivate to believe in themselves and in them? And isn't that similar to how we are, friends? We have these restrictor plates that we put on ourselves, the things that we think we can do or can't do, what we say we can do or don't believe we can do, what we've heard over the years of people talking trash and crap, projecting their own fears onto us. We're only born with two basic fears. That's it. Fear of falling and a fear of loud noises. Every other fear that we have, friends, is a learned behavior. Faith and fear ask you to do the same thing, believe in something you can't see. But this is also faith in yourself, faith in your abilities, faith in your skills, faith in what you can bring forward as a high-performance vehicle in this world. That's what I'm talking about. You see, fear keeps our DNA suppressed. And when I talk about DNA, I'm not talking about your X and Y chromosomes. I'm talking about your divine natural abilities, the things that make you you, the things that make you special, unique, wonderful, impactful. All right? We talk about being a high-performance vehicle for hope, inspiration, love, motivation, solutions. Fear keeps us from that. So the question I have for you, friends, is the potential that we have, is it restricted or is it unlimited? It's what are those gradual steps to produce the horsepower you're here to produce and that we all need. I hope you'll take this opportunity to think about not only the commitment to the business, but the commitment to each other. Find that 1% of daily improvement, look at your team around you, get rid of the restrictor plates for crying out loud. Life's too darn short. Get after it and keep winning.